Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. You are not weak for staying, and you are not foolish for holding on. The real paradox is this: the longer something hurts you, the harder it becomes to leave. You would think pain would push you away. You would think heartbreak would be the signal to walk out the door. But instead, you find yourself whispering, "I've already invested too much, too many years, too many tears, too many versions of yourself that tried to make it work." And so you stay, not because you love the pain, but because walking away would mean admitting that what you gave cannot be recovered. You have felt this. That moment at 2017 a.m., staring at the ceiling, calculating your history like it's a ledger. If I leave now, then what were the last 5 years for? If I quit now, then what was all that effort for? If I let go, then was it all a mistake? And so you keep investing, hoping that one more conversation, one more chance, one more sacrifice will finally justify what you've already spent. This is not weakness. This is psychology. And today we are going to gently unfold why the human heart clings hardest to the very things that wound it. Emotional intelligence isn't just about naming your feelings. It's about having the courage to confront the stories behind them. One of the most painful stories we tell ourselves is this: I can't leave now. I've already put too much into this. In behavioral science, this is called the sunk cost fallacy, a cognitive bias where we continue investing in something because we've already invested so much. But here's what makes this topic deeply human. Sunk cost isn't just about money. It's about identity. It's about pride. It's about love. It's about the version of you who believed. And vulnerability enters the room when we ask the hardest question of all: what if staying is costing me more than leaving? To walk away from something that once mattered, that requires radical honesty. It requires saying, this no longer aligns with who I am becoming. And that can feel like betrayal, not just of the other person, but of your past self. You don't realize you're keeping score, but you are. You keep track of the years, the anniversaries, the arguments survived, the sacrifices made. You tell yourself, no one else would understand what we've been through. You say, we've built too much together. But what you rarely notice is that you are measuring the past instead of evaluating the present. Imagine standing in a movie theater halfway through a film that has become painfully boring. The plot doesn't make sense anymore. The characters frustrate, you're tired. But you stay because you paid for the ticket, even though leaving costs nothing more. That's sunk cost. Now take that metaphor and place it inside your marriage, inside your career, inside the friendship that slowly drains you. You have felt this. The quiet voice that says, maybe if I try harder, it will feel worth it. And here's what makes this so complicated. Humans are wired to avoid loss. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that we experience losses more intensely than gains. Losing 100 feels worse than gaining 100 feels good. That asymmetry lives inside your nervous system. So when you consider leaving something, your brain doesn't calculate future freedom. It calculates past loss. It says, If you walk away, you lose everything you invested. But that isn't true. Time already spent is gone, whether you stay or leave. Staying does not recover it. It only risks adding more. And yet you stay. Not because you don't know this logically, but because emotionally it feels unbearable to admit that something you believed in didn't become what you hoped. That's grief. And grief is heavy, so you choose familiarity over uncertainty, because at least familiarity has a story. Here is where it gets even deeper. You are not just attached to the relationship, the job, or the dream. You are attached to the version of yourself who chose it. You remember the younger you, the hopeful you, the one who said, "This is it." If you walk away, it can feel like saying, "She was wrong. He made a mistake. I wasted my life." And that is almost too much to bear. So instead of questioning the situation, you question yourself. Maybe I'm just not trying hard enough. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I expect too much. You shrink because shrinking feels safer than shattering your identity. You have felt this when you defend something that hurts you. When someone gently asks, "Are you happy?" and you immediately rush to justify, "It's not that bad, bud. Every relationship has problems. At least it's stable." But deep down, your body knows. Your shoulders feel heavier. Your laughter sounds different. Your dreams have become quieter. Sunk cost is not just about investment. It's about ego. It's about the fear of looking foolish, and vulnerability asks something radical of you. What if changing your mind is not failure? What if growth requires outgrowing? You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to say, "This was right for me once. It is no longer right now." But that requires emotional courage, because letting go forces you to sit with discomfort. The discomfort of wasted effort. The discomfort of starting over. The discomfort of disappointing others. The discomfort of uncertainty. And uncertainty feels terrifying. But here is the deeper truth. Staying somewhere that erodes you slowly is not loyalty. It is self-abandonment disguised as commitment. And most of us were taught to admire endurance more than discernment. So we endure and endure and endure until one day we wake up and realize the cost wasn't just time. It was ourselves. You have felt it. The strange, almost seductive rhythm of pain, you know. It's predictable. It doesn't surprise you anymore. It doesn't ask anything new of you. Even when it stings, even when it bruises your heart, you understand the language of this hurt. You know where the landmines are, where the pitfalls lie, and how to navigate them. Now imagine walking into a brand new life, a life that could heal you, but with uncertainty around every corner. You would have to learn the rules again. You would have to build trust. You would have to risk rejection and discomfort. Pain, familiar pain, suddenly feels safer than freedom. Psychologists call this the status quo bias, the preference for what is known, even when it harms you. And here is the cruel twist: your nervous system can become addicted to familiar distress. It's a feedback loop of hurt and reassurance that your brain interprets as safety because it's predictable. You have stayed in jobs, in relationships, in patterns that suffocate you, not because you love them, but because the chaos is familiar and the unknown is terrifying. But here's the truth your heart needs to hear. You are not your past choices. You are the one who gets to interpret them. Sunk cost can only control you if you let it. Imagine your life as a book. The chapters you spent in pain are not blank pages. They are lessons, deep scars that taught you resilience, empathy, and the value of self-worth. But they do not have to dictate the ending. You can write new chapters. You can turn the page. You can choose a story where you honor your time, but refuse to let it chain you. Second person perspective. You have the right to close doors without shame. You have the right to leave without guilt. You have the right to value your present and your future over your past investments. Every time you justify staying because of sunk cost, you are negotiating with a ghost, and ghosts are not real. They are memories you are allowed to honor, but not obey. This is where courage meets vulnerability. It is terrifying to leave something that once defined you. It is frightening to admit, I tried and it didn't work. But vulnerability whispers, the end of one story is the beginning of another. The brave act is not endurance. It is honesty. It is saying, I recognize the value of what I gave, and I release the need to keep paying for it in ways that hurt me now. You can feel grief without guilt. You can honor the past without surrendering your future. And in that, you will find something radical: freedom. You have walked through life carrying invisible chains, subtle, almost imperceptible, but heavy nonetheless. They are not made of iron or rope, yet they weigh on you with the same relentless pressure. Each chain is forged from the quiet decisions you made to endure, from the small compromises that seemed harmless at first, but accumulated like sediment over time. Every time you silenced your voice to avoid conflict, every time you ignored a gut feeling, every time you told yourself, I'll try one more time, another link was added. These chains are invisible to everyone else. Friends, family, even strangers passing by never see the constant tug at your spirit. The way your heart adjusts itself to fit a reality that is slowly eroding it. You have felt the tension in your shoulders, the ache in your chest, the restless nights when your mind replays the same conversations, the same moments, the same mistakes. You've justified staying, convinced yourself that enduring makes you strong, that persistence proves loyalty, that suffering is somehow noble. But inside, there's a quiet knowledge you can't ignore. Something about this doesn't feel right anymore. The first step toward freedom is deceptively simple. You must recognize the chains. You must name them. Say to yourself, I am staying out of obligation to my past, not out of love for my present. Feel how those words vibrate through your chest. Let them land, even if they shake you. Acknowledging what binds you is not weakness. It is the beginning of courage. Once you see them, once you give them shape, you can begin the slow, deliberate process of breaking them. Link by link, you have felt the heaviness, the constant pull towards that no longer serve you. You've felt the quiet resignation, the exhausted hope that maybe if you endure a little longer, things will change. But deep down, your body and your intuition are telling you something urgent. It's time to stop negotiating with what already hurts you. The chains exist, yes, but they are not stronger than your will to reclaim yourself. You are allowed to release them. You are allowed to say, enough. And in that declaration, the first taste of freedom arrives. Small, fragile, and terrifyingly beautiful. Here's the hard truth you've been avoiding. Staying comes at a cost far greater than leaving. And it's not just measured in time, effort, or opportunity. It's measured in pieces of yourself that quietly vanish while you convince yourself to endure. You may think you are preserving something, loyalty, love, commitment, but what you are really doing is negotiating with your own well-being. Every compromise you make against your heart, every ignored boundary, every forced smile in the middle of exhaustion is a withdrawal from your own life. You have felt it, the slow erosion of your dreams. Once they were vivid, expansive, and daring. But now they whisper in corners, tentative and cautious, afraid of challenging the world or the people who demand your endurance. You have felt your voice grow quieter, your laughter less spontaneous, your energy siphoned by obligations you once thought noble. The world outside might see someone strong, patient, committed, but inside you know the truth. Every day you stay, a little more of you is fading. You have felt the way your body remembers this cost. Your chest tightens. Your stomach knots. Your shoulders slump under invisible weight. Even your mind, clever and rational, begins to justify the unbearable. It could get better. I just need to try harder. I just need to be patient. And so you endure, not because it nourishes you, but because it hurts less than confronting the unknown, less than admitting that leaving might be the bravest, most loving choice you could make. The paradox is cruel. Staying promises safety, but delivers erosion. Leaving promises uncertainty, but offers growth. And yet, your heart has learned the language of endurance better than the language of freedom. You have memorized it. You repeat it to yourself in quiet moments. I can handle this. I've handled worse. And while it is true, you have survived worse, you are also surviving at a cost measured not in moments, but in years spent shrinking to fit a reality that was never meant to hold you. You have felt it, the sorrow of wasted potential, the weight of dreams deferred, the quiet grief of a self that is no longer recognizable. And here is the truth most of us avoid. Staying may seem virtuous, steadfast, or loyal, but it is self-abandonment dressed in noble clothes. Endurance is not always a badge of honor. Sometimes it is a silent surrender. And surrender, when it is misapplied, leaves you hollow even as you clutch onto what you think you cannot live without. And so the real question emerges: how long will you pay with yourself for the sake of what no longer serves you? How many more days, months, years will you trade your presence, your vitality, your joy for an illusion of commitment? You have already invested what you could. Continuing to invest now is not preservation. It is a slow, quiet theft of the person you were meant to become. You are allowed to step off the treadmill of past investment. You are allowed to breathe again. You are allowed to reclaim your energy, your peace, your identity. It may feel impossible at first. The chains of obligation Guilt and self-doubt have been tightening for years, and your muscles have learned the rhythm of their weight. But even after decades of endurance, freedom is still possible, and it begins with one brave, small act, noticing that the chains exist, naming them, and choosing not to obey them any longer. You have spent countless nights convincing yourself that leaving is betrayal, that walking away is weakness, that releasing your investment would be shameful. You have told yourself, I must honor what I gave. I must endure because it would be disrespectful to quit now. But here's the truth your soul already knows, and the goofy honoring yourself is far more sacred than honoring what no longer serves you. Your past contributions are not debts you are obligated to continue paying. They are lessons you are allowed to hold and learn from, but not obey. You have felt the quiet tremor in your chest, the hesitant pulse of courage when you imagine saying, enough. You have felt the tug of fear, the fear of losing the story you once told yourself, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of being alone in your choice. That fear is real, it is visceral, but it is not your master. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is saying, I will walk through this discomfort because my future self is worth it. And freedom is radical. Freedom is saying, I tried, I gave, I loved, and now I release it, not because it was worthless, but because it no longer aligns with who I am becoming. Every step you take away from what drains you is a reclamation of self. Every moment you choose peace over obligation, clarity over confusion, authenticity over compromise, you are reclaiming pieces of yourself that have been waiting quietly for you to notice them. You have the right to grieve. You have the right to feel sorrow for what didn't work out. You have the right to honor the investment without continuing to pay for it with your vitality. And in that grief, in that honesty, something extraordinary happens. You reclaim your agency. You rediscover your voice. You allow your intuition to speak louder than the ledger of your past. You are allowed to step into uncertainty, to risk the unknown, because the unknown is fertile ground. It is where possibility lives. It is where the life you've been craving begins. You do not need certainty to act. You need courage, and you have it within you. Even now, in the quietest recesses of your mind, there is a spark waiting, small, flickering, fragile, but real. That spark is your freedom calling. And here is the deepest truth. You do not need anyone's permission to reclaim yourself. No past partner, no job, no family expectation, no societal narrative owns the right to dictate your worth. You are allowed to redefine loyalty. You are allowed to define commitment differently. You are allowed to say, I will honor my past, but I will not sacrifice my present or my future. You are allowed to walk away. And in walking away, you are not abandoning the past. You are embracing the life you were always meant to live. The one where your courage and authenticity are your companions, not your burdens. You have tried, you have endured, you have loved. Now it is time to reclaim. Now it is time to breathe. Now it is time to step into yourself fully unshackled and unapologetically free.